I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here with me today. These are exciting times, and with the new lines of the 46th District, I am surrounded by old friends and new ones, as well as my supportive family. And I would be remiss if I did not specifically mention my beautiful wife, Eileen, who is simultaneously managing the roles of wife, campaign volunteer, and of course expected mother with an astounding level of grace and composure. Eileen, wave, there you go. Eileen is my most loyal supporter, she's my best friend, and we are incredibly excited to be starting a family together in just a few short months. But before I get to take on the role of being dad for the first time, we have a little business to take care of on May 20th, and that's what we're here to talk about today. As you likely know by now, I have two announced opponents in the upcoming Democratic primary, but this isn't just an ordinary election. There's really a whole lot more at stake. And despite anything my opponents may say, to them this election is about one thing, and one thing only. There are people out there who want me out of office because I'm asking some really tough questions on some really important issues. I'm making some people really uncomfortable because I'm forcing them to confront some difficult realities that they would much rather ignore. Franklin Roosevelt, one of my heroes, once said, "I ask you to judge me by the enemies I have made. And I ask you to carefully consider those words in the coming weeks and months." Now, for those of you that don't know me very well, let me explain my philosophy on governing, and it's pretty simple. I believe in working together with Democrats and Republicans. I believe in intelligent, spirited, and passionate debate. And I believe in listening to all viewpoints, including, and sometimes especially, those of the people that disagree with me. I believe the days are rare when there's an absolute right and an absolute wrong on any given issue. And in those shades of gray is usually where we can find compromise and success. Now, during my 8 years in office, I've tried my best to live up to those principles. I've reached across the aisle on important issues like property tax reform, and I've actually let my colleagues in the opposing party put their name on legislation to make sure that political maneuvering didn't outweigh critical policy. I have no pride of authorship when the ends are much more important than the means. But there are times when the stakes are so high and the conflicting interests are so great that true compromise is nearly impossible. And when those times come, especially when you're in elected office, you have a choice to make. Do you compromise your integrity and your beliefs by rolling over to maintain the status quo? Do you speak truth to power, especially in politics where too often the real power lies with the people writing big campaign checks behind the scenes? Do you do what's easy, or do you take the harder road by fighting for what you know to be important? Are you willing to make enemies? Are you willing to be a fighter? Over the past 8 years, the arrival of the natural gas industry has fundamentally changed the landscape of our community. And as with any transformational event, there have been positives and there have been negatives. And when some of the companies first arrived, we tried to work together. I brought leaders from 21 communities together with the goal of finding common solutions. But it didn't take long to realize that to many of those in the drilling industry, the only definition of compromise is that they understand is for elected leaders to blindly agree with everything they say and everything they do, no questions asked. So as out-of-state companies began to boycott local businesses in my district, as parking lots filled up with Texas license plates, as real questions began to surface about air and water quality problems for my constituents and the people living here, and as anyone who asked any questions was subjected to personal attacks by the gas industry's massive public relations machine, it became more and more obvious that if I was ever going to be able to look my children in the eyes one day and justify my role in all of this, there was really only one choice left. I had to stand up and fight. Now, I've asked the tough questions, I've educated myself on the facts, and I've exposed serious corruption in the Corbett administration about the ways we are being kept in the dark about the impact of drilling on our quality of life. I've never tried to stop or ban drilling because I know that there's a serious economic opportunity for many people in the area, and I don't want to deprive them of that opportunity. I want to respect the viewpoints of all the interested parties, which is what I think an effective legislator is supposed to do. Everybody can advocate, but some of us have to legislate and look at it from all sides, objectively. But I also want to make sure that we're respecting the constitutional rights of everybody who lives here, whether you're cashing an industry check or not. So when the legislature passed Act 13, Tom Corbett's Drill Anywhere law, that his multi-million-dollar donors in the gas industry wrote for him, I had no choice but to fight. And as recent tragic events in Greene County have shown us, there is just no need to have this dangerous industrial activity 300 feet from your front door, from your church, from your kid's school. It is really that simple.
It's an outrage. It's an outrage.
So, joining with the 4 communities I represent, and I'm proud to have people from all of those communities here today, we challenged Act 13 all the way up to the Supreme Court. And we want a landmark decision that helps preserve the property values and the quality of life for millions of Pennsylvanians for generations to come. Now, to my opponents, who now want to question my ability to get things done in the legislature, I submit that sometimes success must be measured by the ability to prevent bad things from taking place. And from deep within the minority party, we managed to strike down Tom Corbett's signature legislative achievement in a way that exposed him and his administration and their total contempt of constitutional rights at the expense of corporate greed. And if you can't see that as getting something accomplished, then with all due respect, you need to have your eyes examined. I am proud of what I've accomplished, which is more than my critics will ever acknowledge, much less be able to match. But no fighter wins every battle. And anyone who knows me knows I have no shortage of political scars from times when I lunged when I probably should have jabbed. And every one of those scars represents an important lesson and has made me a more effective legislator and a better person. Those who know me know that I'm my own harshest critic, and when I make a mistake, as we all do, no one is harder on me than I am on myself. But you show me a fighter who's afraid to walk out of the ring with a black eye or a bloody nose, and I'll show you a man who's too scared of ever getting hit to ever throw a punch. And that's what you need to decide when you go to the polls on May 20th and then again in November. Do you want a fighter who will absorb the punches to win the critical fight? Or do you want the phony who's all talk but lacks the guts to ever back it up when push comes to shove?
Go, Jesse.
I will not apologize for fighting for the people I represent. I will not be bullied by those who lurk in the shadows and play political games to protect their own corruption and cowardice. And I will not be bought by any special interest, especially not one that has come into our state and often demonstrated such utter contempt and disrespect for my constituents, my neighbors, my friends, and my family. I'm a threat to them politically, so they want me gone. It is really that simple. And because they can't beat me with facts, or with my voting record, or with my work ethic, they're going to attack my character. They're going to attack my motives, and they're going to try to make you believe I am the worst person to ever hold public office. You know what? They may outspend me, they may outsleaze me, and they may throw out every lie and exaggeration they can, but they will never, ever outwork me. And I promise that between now and Election Day, I will work harder than I ever have before, day and night, to not let them beat me. And I'm passionate about more than just accountability from the drilling industry. And I don't want people to lose sight of the issues that actually brought me to public service to begin with. I've worked hard on legislation to reform the property tax system, to protect our senior citizens from financial exploitation, to give our volunteer firefighters a chance to earn college degrees for their children, and to make it easier to adopt pets in need of homes. I now have the tenure and the experience in the legislature to know how to get things done, even from within the minority party. And I want to use that experience to help the people who took a chance on a wide-eyed, naive 26-year-old when they trusted me with their vote 8 years ago. However, if you want me to fight for you, then I need you to fight for me. Now, the next 73 days are absolutely critical. It is all hands on deck. I need you out there with me in the streets, knocking on doors. I need you making phone calls. I need you getting your friends and your families registered to vote and making sure they get out to vote. I need you to write that campaign check. And before you leave, please sign up on one of our volunteer sheets so we can make sure we can get back with you as the campaign goes on. Because together, we can send a very simple message to Tom Corbett, his multi-million-dollar donors, and everyone else they've been able to buy off. That our quality of life is not for sale. That our constitutional protections are not for sale. Not to anyone, not at any price. We are not for sale. So I ask you again to judge me by the enemies I have made and stand with me so we can fight the good fight together. Because together we will stand, we will fight, and we will win. But I'll be honest, I cannot do it without all of you. This is one of those times where no one can afford to sit on the sidelines. But I plan on staying focused, I plan on staying positive, and I plan on showing them all what we're really made of. This fight is going to last the full 12 rounds, but with your help, I know I'm going to be the last guy standing in the ring when it's over.
Knockout.
So thank you very much for your support. Let's go win this thing.